What's up, guys? It's Fahrenheit. And I want to talk real quick about the Final What's up, guys? It's Fahrenheit. And I wanted to talk real quick about my impressions on the Resident Evil 3 trailer. I wasn't going to do one, then I was, and then I wasn't, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. Like, I just had it in my mind. I'm like, I'm going to talk about it. So, I was going to give my impressions real quick. I'm super excited that's happening. Like, it's Resident Evil 2 Remake was definitely one of my most anticipated games of 2019. It was right there with Devil May Cry 5. Like, it was just like I was so ready for those games, you know. I've always been a fan of Resident Evil games. I'm not a horror fan. I don't like horror at all, right? To me, horror is like the country music of movie and video games. I'm just not into it. But I do like Resident Evil. The point is, I'm actually really excited to see Resident Evil 3 happen. In fact, Resident Evil 3 has helped me to appreciate Resident Evil 2 even more because I start to see some of the elements of Resident Evil 3 in Resident Evil 2. And I was just like, wow, so it was planned the whole time. This is so great. So anyway, let's talk about Resident Evil 3. Looking at it, super excited. I love the look of it. I'm glad that, you know, there's some of the direction that they're going in terms of like being in the city. You know what I mean? I'm hoping they really play off that more, like you're in the city more with broader areas, broader environments. You know what I mean? Kind of like populating the city with just more zombies kind of spread out, you know? So that way it kind of takes away from being in corridors as much. You know what I mean? I'm sure you're still going to have your corridors, your back alleys, you know, the RPD building, police station. And that's fine, but, you know, have some more expanded areas where there's a bit, it's not just a corridor, you know, it's a bit broader. You got more movement, you know, to roam around. That's what I'm hoping for. I think that would be really dope, you know, and I really like the color palette that they have in the environment as well with like the neon signs. It adds a bit more color, a bit more pop because Resident Evil 4, 4 too, actually. 4 was just like this, but what I meant to say, Resident Evil 2 is actually very desaturated. You know what I mean? It had a grain to it. It's very desaturated. And this one looks like they're popping the colors more. And I like that. That looks cool. Speaking of the more like wider environments, I'm hoping that would play into the Nemesis. I'm hoping that the Nemesis is a savage. Like just a savage. Like I'm hoping that it's not like Mr. X. Like Mr. X will show up. He'll like walk through a door, look around. I want Nemesis to be vicious. Like I want him, if that women's bathroom in the RPD was any indication, I'm hoping the Nemesis is just like, if you are Jill, right, and you run away down a city street, then you take a left and down an alley, you take a right down the next alley, you jump over a fence, you run through a bar, through the front door, and then out the back door. I hope Nemesis just runs straight, just a straight line through every building and just blows holes through everything. He doesn't care about doors. He doesn't care about alleyways. He doesn't care about paths. He just makes his own path. He's a savage. That's what I'm hoping. And the whole time he's just like, stars, stars, like just coming after you. Like that's what I want. I want him to harass you. Like, and some people are probably like, are you nuts? Don't do that. Mr. X was bad enough. Come on, man. I feel like that's in Nemesis's character. I feel like that's what he should be. He should be vicious, just a complete savage. So that's what I'm looking forward to see. Now, in terms of the campaign, I really dug the way Resident Evil 2 had the two campaigns between Leon and Claire. I really like that. I thought back playing the original Resident Evil 2, I actually thought that was pretty ambitious that they did that, where you had your Leon campaign and then your Claire version of the campaign, and then they both had both A and B runs of their campaigns, which changed things up. I actually thought that was really cool and really ambitious for the time. I feel like that worked really well for that game. I thought that was cool. However, I don't want to see that for Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 3, it's got to be all about Jill Valentine. Jill Valentine is my favorite, okay? It's got to be all about Jill, all right? If we do play as Carlos, is that his name? Carlos Oliveira? If we play as Carlos Oliveira at all, you know, hopefully it's more like a smaller segment, right? Like a small segment, kind of like the equivalent of what the Sherry Birkins or the Ada Wong segment were in Resident Evil 2. For Leon and Claire. Just really small kind of segment. I don't want anything expanded upon any more than that, to be honest. I really rather just not play as Carlos at all. At least that is until I saw Carlos. Because speak, you know, looking at him, okay, he actually looks pretty badass. Like, actually, like, I look at him, I'm like, he actually looks pretty badass. My man looks like Miguel from Tekken 7. Like, he looks cool, man. Like, actually, you go back and if you look at his skin, they have the original skins from the original game. My man kind of looked like a scrub. Okay, he looked like a scrub. It didn't look cool at all. I'm like, no, man. How you gonna have that face with that Leon hair, man? Come on, man. No. It just, that's like if, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of like an actor who's like not a pretty boy, but is trying to rock a pretty boy hairstyle. Like it just doesn't work. Okay, it just doesn't work. That it just didn't look very cool back then, man. But now he realized the pretty boy look wasn't working for him. Now he's got the facial hair. He's let the hair out. He looked like a man now. Okay, he looked like a man. He could join Chris Redfield in the man's club. He looks like a man now. He looks cool. He looks good. To the point where I actually wouldn't mind playing as him for a bit more of an extended period of time because of how cool he looks. I think he looks pretty badass. Because typically, and this is just a general rule, okay, if I'm playing as Jill in a game, okay, that anytime I'm not playing as Jill, okay, anytime I'm playing as another character is times that I'm not spending playing as Jill, which is in general a problem. So I don't want too much time to get in the way of my Jill time. Jillian comes first. That said, I think Carlos Oliveira looks great. He looks definitely improved. Now, in terms of the Nemesis redesign, honestly, I didn't even really notice anything until I've seen other people bring it up. When he has like the nose on the side of his face, like the cricket nose. And I was like, it doesn't bother me. It definitely makes him look more like, I don't know if uncanny is the word, unsettling. That's the word. It makes him look more unsettling. And I think the reason is because they're adding human traits to his otherwise mangled face. And by adding those human distorted traits, it makes him look more unsettling to look at, which is probably by design. I think that works well. It also works not only making him look more unsettling to look at, but it really makes him look like he used to be a human being and he was distorted and mutated. Because honestly, I never really thought about Nemesis as a human before. I actually never even really thought about it. To me, he always seemed more machine than human because of just the way, I don't know, there's something about the tubes coming out of his body. He just seemed more like he was constructed. It's the same thing like with Mr. X. To me, Mr. X doesn't seem human. He just seems like a walking machine, like a Terminator. Like, I don't think human when I see him. Even though he has human traits, he just looks so mangled and his body and face looks so warped that I don't really think human. You know what I mean? But by adding that nose, it makes him look like it was a man and its body has been stretched out, like its innards have grown to such a degree that it's outgrown the flesh of whoever the vessel was used in the first place. It makes me actually think, oh, wait, it used to be a man. So I think it's an effective redesign from the original Nemesis, honestly. I actually think it works better in terms of what Nemesis actually is. Visually, they're communicating that better, I think. However, now I talk about Jill. Jill's my favorite, right? But over the years, I've noticed that, and I saved this for the end of the video because I knew I might go off a little bit on this one. I always was drawn to the face they used for her in the Resident Evil remake and like some Resident Evil games after that. Resident Evil 5, I believe, was the last time where she had Julia Voth's face, right? They used her as the model back then. I thought that was great. I felt like it gave her a very distinctive look. And especially, and this is the thing, especially if you're using photorealistic graphical direction, right? If you're going in that direction, it helps to have facial traits that are recognizable, right? We're not talking about like a stylized anime look or anything like that. We're talking about more along the lines of photorealism here. So if you have photorealism going on in that's the graphical direction you're going for, that it helps to maintain facial features that are recognizable per character. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you start changing the faces of your photoreal looking character, it starts making them literally look like different people. And so that right there is already kind of a weird thing. Now, Jill, when you see her, you already know it's supposed to be her because we already know we're looking at Resident Evil 3, right? You see her top, you see it's blue. You see the short brown hair and you're kind of like, okay. But then she turns around, you look at her face and you're like, I guess it's you. I guess that's Jill. Okay, yeah, yeah. Sure. It has to be, obviously, but it's like not seeing someone for a long time and they turn around and you're like, hey, how's it been? I haven't seen you in a while. And you're like, hey, you? Oh, it's you. It's like, you remember me? It's like, oh, yeah, no, I didn't recognize you for a moment. It did something different with your face. So, the face is different. It's weird. Like, the facial features, just your nose is different, your eyes are different, your lips are different, your face structure, head structure, chin, everything. The thing is, Julia Evolved had a very distinctive face. She looks like herself, right? She has very particular features about her face that go together. And now I'm going to kind of like, I'm going to be all artist-like here for a second, right? So, like, when you look at a face, what makes a face recognizable is the combination of facial features, right? The different traits in the face that go together and make our face, along with our head shapes and our complexions and all this, right? And of course our hair and all these kinds of things that really, these things kind of change things. Whether you have facial hair or not, the hair on your head, certain accessories, these things are what allow you to be recognizable. If you change these things to any degree, any significant degree, then it makes you harder to be recognized from other people. And this happens with me if I do something with my hair, or I put a hat on, if I don't wear, people aren't used to seeing me with a certain kind of hat, or if I do something with my facial hair or something like that, and people don't recognize me right away, and that's that until they might see me smile or I start talking or something like that, and they're like, oh, it's you, right? It's like, I didn't even know that was you, dude. It's because there's certain things I've changed about myself. So if you change significant aspects of a face, even if you're not changing your facial features, you still may be unrecognizable. So if you change the facial features, that you're not going to look like yourself anymore. You're literally changing the aspects of the face that make you recognizable at its core, right? Which is your features. So now, if you take if you look at Claire Redfield's a really good example, and the previous game, Resident Evil 2 Remake, she actually has very distinctive features, right? In particular, like her lips and like her cheeks, right? Like her jawline. There's something very distinctive about them, right? And I know, like, I guess some people out there, they didn't really care for how she looked, I guess. I actually really dug it. I think it looks distinctive, but I think it's beautiful. I think it there's something attractive about that look, right? But it also works as making her not look like anybody else, right? Another example, a really great example, is what they did with Devil May Cry 5. Everyone in Devil May Cry 5 has a very distinctive look just from the facial features. They did an excellent job with that in that game. The facial features are super distinctive, and then this is the thing. The reason why you do that is because when you look at, like, if you look at like something like Dead or Alive, right? The Dead or Alive stylizes things in a way where it kind of homogenizes things. You can't really tell one character from another from the faces. You have to use the rest of the character's look to kind of help you to know who you're looking at. So you look at the hair, you look at the outfit, and then you look at the movement, and that kind of helps you to know who you're looking at. It doesn't really work so much if you're just looking at the faces, because the facial features are so similar, right? And there's nothing in particular that stands out, you know what I mean? Maybe the eye color, maybe the eye shape a little bit, right? The softness of the skin. It's very like posh, very like flawless faces, but nothing in particular stands out. Now it looks good, right? It's flawless, right? But it's not distinctive enough between the different characters, right? So if you look at Devil May Cry 5, what they did, because they were going for photorealism, in real life, you have imperfections, you have things that aren't perfectly symmetrical and stuff like this, right? And it helps things to stand out. It helps for you to, it kind of grounds things. So if you look at characters in Devil May Cry 5, you look at like, who actually is perfect, like V. V is very distinctive. The dude they got for V, I think he's like a model or something, like in Europe or something like that. I have no idea. But you could tell, like, he's got the perfect face for it. He has very distinctive features, like his face, his head shape, his cheekbones, his jawline, his chin. He's got these pretty ass lips. You know what I mean? Like, he's got the curly hair. And he has like this very strong but pretty features, right? It's like perfect for like a European model or something like that. And so like he's got a great face for that. His nose is distinctive, features that just pop, right? It's the same thing when you look at like even like Lady's got like a curve to her nose. She's got like indentation in her chin. Her jawline is a bit more cut. It's a bit harder, right? And these things really make her face pop, right? You know, it's even looking at like between Dante and like Virgil, how they were supposed to be twins, but as they've grown up, their facial features have changed. So now they've got different looks to their face, and just looking at their faces, you're like, wow, they actually look like two different men, right? Because they've gone to the realm of photorealism. They clearly wanted them to look like different men now, right? And that's the facial features. You know, look at Nero. Even I'm not particularly crazy about the face model they use for Nero. You look at like his head shape and his lips and his jaw. Like he's got like kind of like his forehead's not rounded. It's got almost a concave like look to it, but it's distinctive, right? The problem I have with the current Jill model is in this Resident Evil remake is that her face is just it's not distinctive. There's nothing about her face. It's too fair, right? No feature really stands out from any other feature. She just kind of just looks pretty, right? It's just, when she used to be Julia Valt's face, you know, Julia Vaught has eyes that are very particular to her, right? Almost this glazed over look, you know? She's got kind of a boxy-ish nose, but it's distinctive. Like, you know when you see it. Her eyes, her nose, her jawline was a bit harder, like a bit more angular, right? But that was her face, and it caused Jill to look like somebody, right? Now, you don't have to use her face verbatim. In fact, I prefer that the characters that you're creating don't look exactly like the models. The model should just be the base, and then you kind of nuance things and kind of massage things, change things up as the artist and the designer, so that you now create the uniqueness that is that character you're trying to create. But that's what I was kind of hoping they would do with Jill, is they kind of take Julia Voss's face as the basis, and then you kind of nuance it and change certain things, but you still have certain distinctive features that make her look recognizable as the Jill that a lot of people may have known, myself included. But I had a feeling that it might turn out this way because they stopped using Julia Voth after Resident Evil 5. I think Revelation, she looked totally different. I didn't even really know what they were doing at that point, but yeah, she looks good. She still looks good, but I was really kind of hoping they would go in a different direction. Now, in terms of Jill's costume design, I think it's good. It's pretty good. I mean, it's basic. It does fall in line, I guess, with the more grounded, realistic look they've been going for with Resident Evil, as well as with Devil May Cry 5. There's more of a kind of more simplified, more grounded costume design that they're using, and I think it works for the photoreal look that they're going for, the visual direction. It's not my favorite design. I really liked the Resident Evil Lost in Nightmares from Resident Evil 5, that design. I actually liked that one a lot. I think it was a cool mixture of something that looked pretty grounded, looked kind of utilitarian, combat ready, but it had a stylistic look to it. Her design now it's pretty just kind of simple, but it looks good because she looks good in it. You know what I mean? It's like when you have someone who like just has like a nice body, a nice physique, when they wear something, they just look good in things because they wear the outfit. It doesn't wear them. So she looks good just by virtue of having a nice figure. But the outfit itself is pretty basic, so it's kind of whatever. But either way, still super excited for the game. I can't wait to try it out. I really love how they even have integrated the game, like certain things, into Resident Evil 2. You know, like the Jill Valentine trophy and the letter. I like how they're like kind of intertwining kind of things. Because before, I don't know if there was any letter or anything in the original Resident Evil 2. I don't remember that. But I like, even though Jill and Leon and Claire, they don't really communicate. There's never really any kind of interaction. There's certain characters in Resident Evil that you never really see communicate at all. I like how they're tying it together in this way. It's actually really kind of cool, that little extra tidbit of kind of like, you know, kind of, I guess, fan service or connectivity between the two games. Just letting you know how it's all happening at the same time. Like, it's actually really, really cool. I really appreciate what they're doing with the game. I appreciate how Capcom is marketing this, where they don't let you know about they're not pulling a Square Enix where they tell you about the game 4 years before the game releases, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, you're just waiting, and then they delay it, and then it's another 4 years, and you're like, oh my god, what the hell? They wait until it's just like a few months away. They've been doing an excellent job with this for the last few years. They'll announce something just a few months away. They've been doing that for a few years now with Resident Evil 2, I think with Resident Evil 7, I think with Monster Hunter. There's a few companies that do it right, and Capcom has been doing it really well. Like, that's a good way to do it. You don't announce anything until you know you're at the finish line. It's great production planning right there. I love it. So I can't wait for this game. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure they've already been talking about this game. I'm releasing this later. Like I said, I wasn't going to make anything about this, and I decided, you know what, screw it. I had it in my mind to do it. So let me know what you think, comment section below, and I'll catch you guys later. Fahrenheit out.